Hey guys, Mr. Gron, 13.2 angles of rotation. In this lesson, in this video, we'll be looking at reference angles. So if I go all the way over to my reference angles, a reference angle is this. It's the angle that's left to get to the x-axis. And so let's say we've got 100, this looks like about a 120 degree angle of rotation. All the way to the x-axis would be 180. And so that means that our reference angle is 60 degrees. And so what's important in trigonometry about this is, and sort of the why behind this, why it's a thing, is that any angle that has a reference angle of 60 degrees will have the same trig ratios, except it might be the different sign. So one might have a positive sign value, one might have a negative sign value, but the actual number will be the same. So if I made another angle here that was 60 degrees, that has the same trig values as 120, except it might be the wrong sign. On this side, if I go 60 degrees past 180 to get to 240, that would also have the same trig ratios, except the signs might be flipped. And then if I make another one over here, that would be at 300, which is 60 degrees away from the x-axis on this side. Those all have the same trig ratios. It's just some of them are going to be positive versus negative. Okay, so what we're going to do then, you don't technically have to draw the angle of rotation, but I find it very helpful. So 150 degrees, we know that that's going to end right about here. And it doesn't have to be perfect or anything. But we want to know what is this angle that's left, right? So we know that this was at 150. If we get to the x-axis, it's 180. So we're going to do 180 minus 150 to get 30 degrees. For negative 130, now this is where some of our first mistakes will come in. One thing about reference angles is they are always positive. So even though negative 130 is down over here, and it is, we're measuring it to the x-axis, which is at negative 180, this we're going to treat as a positive angle. So instead of doing negative 180 and subtracting negative 130 and then trying to remember that it's positive, I'm going to just take the shortcut of doing 180 minus 130. And I get 50 degrees. All right, the other thing is these are always measured to the x-axis, and it's always the closest x-axis. So for our 280, this would be 90, 180, 270, so it's just a little bit past. A lot of students will make the mistake to say that it's 10 degrees because they will measure it back to the y-axis, which is the closest axis. But that is not the case. We want to measure it all the way to the closest side of the x-axis, which would be right there. So now we've got 280 is our angle of rotation. We're measuring it to 360, which would be a full circle. That's where our x-axis is. And so we would do 360 minus 280. And that would give us 80 degrees. So a couple things that we can add about angles of rotation. If we get rid of all of this stuff. One thing, they're always positive. They're always less than 90 degrees. And they are always measured to the x-axis.